Good afternoon. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive, and welcome to our weekly Westchester update. It is Monday, February 28th, and we're very happy to go over a couple of issues that are important here in Westchester County with you, as we try to do every Monday. Last week, of course, because of the Monday federal holiday, we had our update on Tuesday, and many things have been happening in our world and in the world at large in that period of time. Today, we're going to cover four topics. We're going to talk about the Ukrainian community here in Westchester County as they are dealing with this terrible aggression that has been affecting their country in Europe from Russia. We also have as our guest this week Town Supervisor Warren Lucas from the town of North Salem. We're very happy to have him with us here today. He's a past visitor, and he will talk about what's happening in the town of North Salem. I'll give him a proper introduction at the time and mention that terrific community that's in the northeastern corner of Westchester County. We'll do our COVID update, and Ken Jenkins, our Deputy County Executive, will join me for some of the usual things that we want to cover. The numbers are good, and the mask mandate's been lifted, and we'll cover all of that. And then we'll talk about a major economic development effort which has been made by Regeneron, homegrown company here in Westchester County, and how Westchester County, through its Industrial Development Agency, is aiding them in their latest project. First, we'll talk about the issue that's really on everybody's minds. It's certainly a worldwide concern, and that is the recent attack by Russia on the country of Ukraine. And we watch the national news, the international news, and I think we all have a certain amount of horror with the violence that's being raged over there. I am not neutral in this matter. We think, and I think very directly, that Russia has an unprovoked attack on the country of Ukraine, and we support those in the Ukrainian community that are worried about their loved ones that are there overseas. Yesterday, I declared Sunday, February 27th, a day of prayer for Ukraine in Westchester County, and I had the opportunity to go to St. Michael the Archangel Ukrainian Church in Yonkers. I was joined by Deputy County Executive Ken Jenkins, a number of members of elected public office, State Senator Andrea Stewart-Cousins, State Senator Shelley Mayer, Assemblyman Nader Sage joined us. Catherine Borgia, the head of the County Board of Legislators, and a number of her members were there. Mayor Michael Spano, of course, who also had his own declaration in his city. And by worshiping together at the weekly Sunday Mass service, we showed the willingness of all of the neighbors here in Westchester County to stand together. The group that we put together included individuals who were Jewish, Muslim, Baptist, and Roman Catholic, people of all different ethnic backgrounds, those who are white, those who are African American, those who are Latino, and all of us together showing solidarity behind the Ukrainian community here in Westchester County. St. Michael the Archangel Church has been in the Yonkers community since 1899, and it serves more than 400 families in their parish, and they are the heart of the Ukrainian community in Westchester County. According to the recent census that was completed last year, there are 1,767 Westchester residents here today that were born in the Ukraine, and 6,393 Westchester residents who trace ancestry back to Ukraine. The municipalities with the largest population representing Ukrainian ancestry is the city of Yonkers, and nearby the town of Greenburgh, and they are 1 and 2 in this region. And of course, St. Michael's Church, located in the northern part of Yonkers, very close to Greenburgh, is really the center of the community life. There's a Ukrainian festival that's held there every year. All of us, whatever our backgrounds, enjoy a festival, enjoy the various food and dance and music of each of the different ethnic groups that make up the mosaic of Westchester County, and we're there at St. Michael's for that festival. But it is a very solemn moment right now. We'll leave to those who are involved in international affairs and national affairs to address the policy issues. Those of us in local government have a responsibility, we think, to turn to the members of our community that have common heritage with Ukraine and show them that we are with them, our prayers are with them, the support of our community is with them as they fight off this, and we hope that there will be, at the end of the day, a peaceful outcome and an outcome that saves as many lives as is possible. But we'll let that information fall to our president and our national officials to describe it. We just wrap our arms around our brothers and sisters in Westchester County and show them solidarity and common purpose together in the face of an enemy. To the area that we do have responsibility for, the civil responsibilities within Westchester County, we've made a decided effort to work closely with local governments and with our school districts in as much of a partnership as we can. Similarly with our state legislative delegation, and we've had at each of these weekly updates the chief executive officer, chief elected officer of various communities. And we have quite a range of communities in Westchester County. The largest incorporated community is the city of Yonkers, over 200,000 population. The smallest incorporated unit is the village of Buchanan, which has slightly over 2,000 residents. But each of those 45 communities has their own personality. They have their own density. They have their own land use issues and priorities. They have their strengths, they have their challenges, and each of those communities elect either a mayor for a village or a city or a supervisor for the town, and that person is charged with leading that local government through those issues. We hope we continue to be in Westchester County government a partner to those local governments, and that partnership sometimes can be a difficult arrangement because the issues are difficult. But we're very grateful to have them as partners, and we also make it a point of working across party lines on these issues. We know that there is a time and a place for the political side of what we do and as November's approach. But when we are governing blind to the individuals' affiliations and as well to our affiliations. We work together for what we hope is the best interests of the individuals. And the individuals who live in North Salem, 5,300 strong, northeastern corner of our county, they border Putnam, is directly to their north, and directly to their east is the state of Connecticut. It's a beautiful area. Whenever I've been up there, you can't help but marvel at the physical beauty of the town and the trees and the watershed that exists there. But like any other communities, they have their challenges and they need their leadership. And they have an excellent town supervisor in Warren Lucas. He is a former IBM executive, a senior executive, who is taking those same talents that he used in the private sector for a number of years now on town issues. He served as a councilman before becoming supervisor, and with one or two exceptions, he may be the longest-serving town supervisor that we have in Westchester County. And he is well-respected in his community, and he's well-respected here in the county office building. So let me introduce the town supervisor for the town of North Salem, Warren Lucas. Mr. Supervisor, glad to have you with us again.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Well, that was a wonderful introduction. Very much appreciated. George talked about the work that we all do together, and I have to tell you, it's been phenomenal, the support that we get from the county all the time. And I don't say this because I'm here. George has heard this multiple times, even when we're one-on-one. I remember back through all the PPE stuff that we were going through, coming down to get it from the county, and recently the home health tests. I think you got them probably December 23rd. We had them December 24th at 9 a.m., and I had them to all the people in my town. All the kits that we had, within an hour they were gone. But all of those things that we've been going through over the last year with all the COVID stuff are hopefully something that will abate, and we won't have to have the same focus on going forward. But it's been an absolute pleasure dealing with the county on those. You know, North Salem, I'll just a couple of minutes on North Salem. George covered really the most important part, which is we're a very rural community, which is a little unusual in Westchester County. Maybe there are a couple of others that are similar to us. We have thousands of acres, and one of the things that's been kind of interesting with COVID is people like to get out and walk. So whether it's up in Mountain Lakes Park, which is an absolutely gorgeous park that the county owns, it's just over 1,000 acres, or whether it's on the North Salem Open Land Foundation, they have 1,200 acres and gorgeous properties like the Baxter Preserve. You find hundreds of people out there walking all a distance apart through a lot of the COVID stuff. And if anybody's ever interested in coming up to North Salem, we'd love to have you walk around some of the open land that we have, many, many thousands of acres and trails. You know, the town has some interesting aspects. It has the hamlets of Croton Falls and Purdy's, which are really train depots. That's how they started many, many years ago in the 1840s. And you want to walk to the train, take it to New York City, more densely populated. Those are the areas that you might be interested in. The northeastern part of the town, Peach Lake, where I grew up in the summer, my parents had a house 3 miles away, and so we literally, packed the car up and drove 3 miles. And we're over at his cottage over on Peach Lake on the water, and the swimming and the boating were things that we just thoroughly enjoyed. And even today, 19% of the homes in our town are around Peach Lake, and it's just an absolutely phenomenal summer experience for the kids. And I have people across the United States that call up and they say, hey, I grew up on Peach Lake, could I ask some questions about it? And of course, it hasn't changed too much. There's some of the families are still there, but it's the same wonderful experience. And then the rest of the town, whether you like horses, we're hoping this year that the COVID stuff's away and the horse show's open again, and the outhouse orchards and the different places, the orchards in town, that they're all open. So it's a wonderful town to grow up in, and people very much appreciate it. I did want to just talk about a couple of things that's been in the newspapers lately. I'm happen to be president of the Westchester Putnam Association of Town Supervisors, and there was some legislation that was out in the governor's budget. It was ADU legislation, accessory dwelling unit and transit-oriented development, TOD. And it was part of the budget. One of the problems with being in the budget, it kind of goes through the legislative process and doesn't get really looked at in too much detail. So very much appreciative of everybody's help and support. I know George and the county exec and the deputy county exec came out and said this isn't the right way to do it. It's been pulled out, and very much appreciate that. I know Senator Harkin is still working on the ADU legislation, and one of the concerns, and I represent, as I said, all the other supervisors, one of the concerns that we all have is that really it's the state focusing on zoning and putting out some zoning policies that you really can't say no to. And home rule has been one of the things that there really isn't any legislation that says home rule. The town can do what they want, but part of the Constitution, I think it's Article 9, kind of defines that there's a Bill of Right for governments, and governments can make there's self-determination on some of these things. So we're a little reluctant to have anything come out from the state. And one of the things we've been doing, I'm on the WMOA Executive Board, Westchester Municipal Officials Association. There's a group of us working on this right now, but we've gone through all the towns. They all have ADU legislation on the book, as do I. I have 265. 13% of the homes in town already have accessory dwelling units in North Salem. And so some of the folks on the executive board are going down and pulling all that data and going to get it back to the Senate and the Assembly folks so they can understand that we're not doing this. It's being handled locally, and it looks like it's actually working fairly effectively. I talked a little bit about the stuff that we've been going through with the work with the county on a lot of the equipment, the emergency focus. I wanted to just really thank. We have a volunteer ambulance corps in town, and I know a lot of the folks out there. It's volunteer fire, volunteer ambulance. A lot of them are paid, and whether you're paid or volunteer. They've been phenomenal throughout the last 2 years. But I just wanted to really thank some of the my North Salem Volunteer Ambulance Corps. For a small town, they do about 520, 540 calls a year in that range, fully dressed up in PPE all the time. They're available 24/7, and throughout this process, it's been a lot of extra work. We have 2 nursing homes in town that have had a lot of patients going in and out, and they've been transporting them. So I just want to just take the time to say thank you very, very much. And, the other thing I just wanted to mention, the town's been very supportive of people. The county's worked with us very, very supportive as we've gone through this process. And I was talking to somebody this morning who lives in town. Her daughter, it was the first time she was going back to school without a mask. She wasn't sure she wanted to get out of the car this morning. She's been in the school for the last 2 years, and nobody's seen her face, right? And so even after this pandemic, as this thing gets into the endemic phase, we still need to be supportive of the kids and everybody else who have really been through a lot, and hopefully it'll all work out wonderfully well, but we still have to have that type of support. So anyway, George, thank you very, very much. Again, appreciate it.
Thank you, Warren. Thank you very much. Thank you. That's Warren Lucas, Town Supervisor of the town of North Salem. And I'll reinforce what he said. Please find some time, particularly when the weather gets a little nicer. You can do it this time of the year. It's certainly a wonderful winter walk, but when the springtime comes and the summertime comes, the Mountain Lakes Park is a beautiful county-owned facility, and you'll get a good flavor for the lovely town that Warren has responsibilities for. We appreciate his involvement with us here. So we're going to touch on COVID issues, as we do with each of these updates. And the numbers for COVID has been very positive over the last 8 weeks now. We've seen the Omicron surge, which started in December, peak out around the 10th or so of January, and then drop almost as fast as it rose. We reached a peak of 36,000 active cases, meaning the number of positives within a 10-day period of time. Our caseload as of yesterday, we are down to 1,066 active cases of coronavirus in Westchester County. While we haven't gotten under the 1,000 mark, it's been quite a long time since we've had that low a number of active cases, and it's been a steady diminution over the course of the last 8 weeks. So it's clearly not a blip on the screen. It is a definable trend. A month ago, we had 7,468 cases. So even though the peak came almost 2 months ago, we've seen a drop of 6,000 out of 7,000 cases just in the last 30 days. Hospitalizations, at the present time, 83 people are hospitalized because of coronavirus. A month ago, we were at 395. And the peak that we had back in January, early January, was 677. So that's a tremendous drop. And fatalities, which are always tragedies, no matter how few they may be. Back a month ago, we had 52 people die within the week. In the past week, we've lost 13 souls. So as a mathematical trend, the number is down. We're still losing individuals. People who are unvaccinated are still vulnerable to be sick and vulnerable to die. People who may be vaccinated, perhaps not fully vaccinated with all 3 shots, but people who are not fully vaccinated or may have a serious underlying disease and or may be of an advanced stage where the vaccine doesn't have the full beneficial effect on them, that is contributory to the number of people that we lose. But all of those numbers are positive numbers, much less active cases, much less hospitalizations, far fewer fatalities. The overall infection rate has dropped pretty dramatically as well. Our infection rate for yesterday was at 1.7, and over the last 3 days it has averaged 1.7. The statewide infection rate is under 2%. The infection rate, or the positivity rate as it also is referred to, is how many people out of 100 tested test positive. So if you have a 1.7 rate, you're slightly below 2 people per 100 tested. And we're routinely testing in the thousands of people every day in Westchester County. The number of tests have dropped dramatically. The period of time slightly over 2 months ago, we were in the holiday season, Christmas holiday season, where there was much demand for travel and getting tested before you got on an airplane or tested before someone came over to your house to be with grandma and grandpa. That testing demand was phenomenal, and that's the time that Warren was alluding to, where we had some test kits available and they were gobbled up faster than we could give them out. Now we're seeing testing at a more normal pace, and we're able to accommodate the testing needs. We've been able to get test kits out to various municipalities. We've also disseminated them through the Westchester library system to libraries, tested them out, parceled them out to a number of different community organizations. Certainly the neighborhood health centers got them early on in the process, and all across the society, so that the testing module is not in the stress position that it was 2 months ago. You saw that Governor Hochul lifted her mandatory mask mandate. She announced it yesterday on Sunday, and she pointed to the great decline in the number of cases of COVID-19. So this is a decision based on the metrics of what's happening on the ground, the great drop, and she has lifted the mandate. And that mandate specifically includes no mandated masks in school settings. Local school districts may have a mandate if they choose to put it into place. The county, which does have a default authority given to us by the governor most recently, has no intention of requiring masks to be mandated. We have stayed away from mandates in general on almost every topic, and we found that even without having to mandate things, we have gotten good compliance in Westchester County on vaccinations, on mask usage, and on social distancing behavior. So while there may be some different transmission rates around the state, even though the average is fairly similar to what we have, the governor has left some of those decisions available to counties and cities. But at this stage of the game, we're not in Westchester County going to impose any mask mandate. We eliminated the one that we did have 2 weeks ago. There are some set entities that the mandate still applies. The mandate still applies in hospitals and nursing homes. The mandate still applies on mass transit, which for our purposes is the Beeline bus system. But for your purposes, if you're going to Metro North in the city or riding the subway trains when you're in the city, the mask mandate still applies. There are a couple of other areas as well, some congregate settings, group homes and things of that nature where the masks still do apply. But it's lifted for children, it's lifted for the general population, and as long as these numbers continue to stay low, hopefully they drop down near zero as possible, we envision no reinstitution of that. in the same way that we had no reinstitution of shutdowns of portions of the economy, which was done back in the late spring of 2020 when the infection was unchecked by vaccinations and any other treatment. There are some treatments out there for those who have it. So we're very happy to know about all of those things. We have a host of information about testing and vaccination satellite locations. I'll just mention that we continue to have, in effect, Westchester County Center being used as both a testing and a vaccination center, and we have a number of different locations where we set up these satellite centers. Ken's going to go over them in a second. We also have 2 health clinics. Our Yonkers Health Clinic continues to be assisting in this area, both testing and vaccinations. And we have the White Plains Health Clinic in downtown White Plains as well. So all of these things will be covered. I'll ask Ken to cover our vaccinations and our vaccination satellite locations, if you would. Ken Jenkins, our Deputy County Executive.
Thanks, George. And certainly the testing is continuing at the county center, as the county executive just mentioned, for symptomatic members of the communities, those with a known exposure to a confirmed positive case, or now for those that just wish to get tested for any other reason. The CDC recommends being tested 5 to 7 days after an exposure. We had appointments that were encouraged, but walk-ins are also available, pointing to the county executive's earlier points about the availability of testing as it's opened up as we've gotten away from the holiday season and where there was just a demand that just didn't meet the supply. The operation hours on Mondays and Tuesdays, 8 to 4, Wednesdays, 8 to 12, Thursdays, 8 to 2, and Fridays, 8 to noon, again at the Westchester County Center. We're really recommending and encouraging folks to make appointments, but walk-ins are also welcome. And remembering we're having testing and vaccinations going on in the same building, just not at the same time. So again, it's better to have that appointment so you don't walk in at the wrong time and we're not able to accommodate you. The county center is also having those vaccinations for children 5 and up. Make the appointment from the Department of Health website. That's definitely done with a partner to do those vaccinations, and we continue to do that work. Again, for COVID vaccinations, 5 and up. Our satellite locations continue. We have the 2 that are happening locally, one in Mount Vernon today, starting at 3 o'clock, just in a bit of time. So 3 o'clock at the Lincoln Elementary School. First and second doses, as well as boosters, are available. Again, that's in the school setting at the Lincoln Elementary School from 3 to 6. Tuesday, tomorrow, March 1st. First, second, and second doses, as well as boosters at the Alice E. Grady Elementary School cafeteria in Elmsford. Again, check in with the school district. If you go on our website, it will point you over to the school district from 3:30 to 6:30 p.m., again, at the Grady Elementary School. Thursdays and Fridays, we continue to have the recurring county center pediatric clinics. Check online at the health.westchestergov.com site. So 3:30 to 6:30 on the 3rd, and on the 4th, Friday, from 2:30 to 6 p.m. Remembering with our young folks in the pediatric vaccinations that an adult is required, so a parent or guardian is required to be there to be able to help administer those. And for a heads up for our folks going to next week, Monday will be in Portchester, at the John F. Kennedy Elementary School, and on Tuesday afternoon, we'll be back in Peekskill at the Family Resource Center. Again, second doses at both of those locations, so these are follow-up to satellite locations that have happened already 3 weeks after their first shot. So again, it's a reminder for folks, again, to be able to do those second doses next week on Monday and Tuesday. With that, thanks a lot, George.
Thanks very much, Ken. We want to mention that we're very well aware that in the next couple of days we will celebrate the 2nd anniversary of the beginning of this COVID outbreak. Westchester County's first cases were identified on or about March 3rd. I think we all believe that there was cases that were undocumented prior to that, but we first saw that what we were seeing on television in Wuhan, China, and in Lombardy, Italy, had now come home here to us. And so with that thought in mind, we will have a commemoration coming up on the 3rd of March, which would be Thursday of this week at 2 p.m. It'll be live on Facebook. We are going to remember those that we've lost, and we're going to make sure that we use this as a sober moment to remind us of what we've been through already, and hopefully what we have to do to get through the rest of what we want to accomplish. Putting this fully behind us, getting back to normal. We have so many different issues in county government that we have to address, town, village, local government, your lives, your businesses, as they try to return to normalcy to the greatest extent possible. But we do want to stop and remember those that we've lost, and appreciate those that have worked so hard for us, all of the first responders in the medical profession, those police and fire and EMS particularly that devoted tremendous yeoman effort over these 2 years. And no one really knows how long these things are going to be when they start out, but we've had to show perseverance over an extended period of time, and so we will remember that on our Thursday at 2 o'clock when we're together. We will also be back to make a very special announcement. I won't announce it prematurely, but we lost a major person in the Westchester County community. We're going to be honoring that individual in the next update that we have. So do tune in tomorrow for an update in which we will have that recognition along with members of the Board of Legislators with us. I want you to mark your calendars that 2 weeks from tomorrow in selected villages will be Village Election Day. For those who live in towns that do not have villages within them, or those who live in cities, Village Election Day may not resonate. But the local elected officials, the mayors of villages, the village trustees, are elected in many communities in the middle of the month of March. Some have moved their elections to November, but those that have March elections, we're 2 weeks away from that happening. I'll make the reminder of it the next 2 weeks. Those communities that have village elections that are competitive include the village of Tuckahoe, the village of Portchester, the village of Buchanan. There are some communities that have elections for which there is no defined competitor. There may well be write-in possibilities, but in the village of Bronxville, in the village of Hastings on Hudson, the village of Elmsford, there are village elections all on March 15th. Consult the local information in your community, League of Women Voters website. You can call the Board of Elections. They'll have a listing. In theory, you know what's happening in your village. You're probably getting mailings or other communications, but put that on your calendar. Voting for village elections 2 weeks from tomorrow on Tuesday, March 15th. Now, we want to cover the last point, which is a matter of economic development. We're all familiar with the many major corporations that are here in Westchester County. As I've often said, when I was a young boy growing up in this county, it was a major coup for international business machines, IBM, to relocate their corporate headquarters here to Westchester County. PepsiCo and the family of companies for that consumer products food company located in Westchester County. There were some other ones that located here. Kraft Foods had once underneath their wing General Foods, and General Foods, major food producer, was headquartered here. We had Nestle USA based here, and a number of other major companies in their day. Some of those have moved on with corporate mergers and acquisitions, and we now still have major U.S. corporations like MasterCard that are based here. We have the USA headquarters for Heineken, for Danone North America, which is Dannon Yogurt, Evian Water, and a number of other different organizations. And one of the ones that we're most proud of is Regeneron, which is a biotech company that has grown from an idea and a couple of very talented scientists into a major billion-dollar company. And of course, they've been involved in COVID treatments. You heard references to some of the drugs that they have prepared to treat you when you have COVID to try to reduce the symptoms of it. So they've really been on the cutting edge of the sciences right now, and they have a tremendous presence in our county right now in the corridor from Greenburgh to Tarrytown and elsewhere, and they've made decisions to have a significant expansion of their Tarrytown campus, a $1.39 billion expansion, and that represents an additional 700 full-time jobs, 800 construction jobs, and high-paying jobs in both of those cases. This is a 724,000 square foot project that Regeneron is undertaking. This is one of the most major development projects that we've seen in Westchester County in recent history, and our Westchester County Industrial Development Agency has done their share in trying to help that project come to pass. The 700 full-time jobs will generate an annual compensation of more than $200,000 per, and the IDA passed a vote that allowed for a significant contribution of resources for that. It's important to understand that the money is a reduction in the level of taxation that Regeneron will have to pay in a number of different areas, and that cost savings help them put this major project together financially. So the county's involvement is direct and it's helpful. Regeneron has announced that it's going to invest a significant amount of money in this campus, and we're very pleased that the IDA could be a significant portion of it. This is not the first time that our Industrial Development Agency has been involved in a major project for a major corporation. A little less than 18 months ago, we announced IDA funding for Morgan Stanley and their multi-year renovation of their 750,000 square foot building, which is located on Westchester Avenue, the town of Harrison. You might remember it as the corporate headquarters for Texaco at one point in time. Morgan Stanley now operates in that. And this investment by Westchester County is significant, and it's going to involve somewhere between 1,200 to 1,300 employees that will grow or be retained at that site, with 900 plus construction jobs. That project from Morgan Stanley was approved 16 months ago, and now the Regeneron project was just approved in the last week. Both of them represent part of our economic development strategy that has multiple elements to it. Part of it is to assist large businesses that are here to remain here and to grow here so that they don't feel the need to close up shop and move to some other location with all of their jobs. And Regeneron and Morgan Stanley are two of the prime organizations that have significant holdings or are based here in Westchester County. We've also put time and energy and effort into growing small businesses, and we talked just a few weeks ago about our Launch 1000 program, our Element 46 incubator program, where we've done some things very differently from what we've done in the past in economic development, trying to get those companies that begin with one person and a good idea and give them the resources necessary to get off the ground and start to grow so that a one-person shop becomes a 5-person shop, becomes a 25-person shop, and if they have the right idea and timed right, you can become the next Regeneron. So our support for the incubator programs of small businesses is part of our economic development strategy. And we also have a strategy where we're working through the local chambers of commerce, which basically are the marketing arms for the downtowns of all of our different villages and towns. And by maintaining a steady presence on behalf of all of the businesses, retail businesses and other businesses, you attract business into the main streets of our communities, as Warren talked about in North Salem. The area around Croton Falls train station is a small business district, and it has its number of businesses that are important. And you see that in so many of our downtown areas around Westchester County, not only the White Plainses, the New Rochelle's, the Yonkers, and the Mount Vernons of the world, but also the Pleasantvilles and the Armonks and the Larchmonts and the river towns along the Hudson River. So all of that element goes into what we hope is a complete strategy for economic development. And in this particular case, the IDA's role with Regeneron has been essential. We're very happy to help out a major company because they are certainly helping us out with their presence in Westchester County, and not just from the job standpoint, but the taxes they pay and the cachet that we have by saying that we are the home for Regeneron, we are the home for IBM and PepsiCo and so many other wonderful places. We are near New York City, but we're not New York City, as I've often said. I stole the line from my father, and we're very proud, those of us who are in Westchester County government, that we can play a role in helping these companies accomplish what their vision is in providing their services. So we're very happy with that for the IDA. Those are the major issues we wanted to touch on during this update. We have Catherine Chaffee as our Director of Communications here, Lisa Reyes, Communications Manager, John Borse. We want to thank them for their role in helping these things happen every day. We understand that we do not have any questions from the press, but we invite any members of the press that are seeing the feed to reach out to us. Catherine can be reached at 995-2932, and we're happy ourselves or Warren Lucas to talk about any of the issues that are at hand, either these issues or any other issues that might arise. We have on this Monday a municipal call coming up at 3:30. in which we invite representatives from the 45 municipalities to get on a conference call. We talk about some of the issues of the day. Some of them are issues that are more governmental internal. Some of them are those that we report externally. Every Monday morning during the school season, we have a similar conference call with the 44 school superintendents of the districts across Westchester County. Obviously, we shared the news about the mask mandate and went over a few little elements of the protocols. But what we're trying to do, very straightforwardly, is to work with the other levels of government, the other layers of government, in a cooperative fashion. So as we report to you on a Monday, so do we also interact with our schools and our municipal officials and try to have as a comprehensive an effort going forward as we can. So with that, we appreciate your watching. We have a couple of other announcements coming up in consecutive days. You're welcome to tune in to see us live. And then, of course, a week from today, we'll be back at 2 o'clock for the structured weekly update. We'll have another one of our local partners in government join us at that time. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive. Thank you for watching. Have a good day and stay safe.